Tell us that story.
I filled my capacity with a podcast. No.
How did you free yourself in your firm? Like big picture.
The word was delegate in the beginning.
Perfect.
And the word at first it was, let's delegate this work that I'm doing. Let's create a process to do that. So actually it was first technology. It was first creating more space to do different things. Today is November 17th, 2021. That's my birthday today.
Happy birthday. You're a rose in my heart. Scott Scarano. I don't know if anybody's been saying his name wrong like I have for 5 years.
Everybody.
Scarano.
So you can't, it's not wrong. It's just how I say it. It's like the tomato thing.
How you say it is how it's supposed to be.
Okay. So then.
And it's tomato.
Scarano. Yeah.
Scarano.
Yeah. But some people say tomato.
That's the wrong pronunciation.
Not the people that are tomato.
We're in Atlanta at the Padgett Tax Conference. And thank you both. Our guests today are recurring guests. Amanda Aguilar, COO of Padgett, and Jeff Phillips, CEO of Padgett. And speaking of Padgett, yes, we are at the tax seminar.
2021.
Right now, we got some noise in the background, but that's just other accounting firm owners.
Just friendly
like
accountants walking by, waving at us.
End of day 2.
End of day 2. Feels like day 4.
Or more.
Sitting in. So today, we're going to talk about capacity. And I can just pass the mic, literally and figuratively, on capacity. It just locked and loaded to talk about capacity. It's been on his mind for a while. It's been on my mind for a while, too. But Amanda, I've never heard your take on it.
Well, since I joined Padgett this summer, I've been out on the road talking to franchise owners. And one thing that I'm hearing consistently is we are too busy and we can't hire enough help. In our firms, a lot of times the owner is the primary producer. And so that's a problem. The owner can't really run the business. They are working in the business. And so how do we build capacity, not for each individual franchise owner, but across the whole system? So that's going to be a big focus for us in 2022.
Well, let's just talk about firm owners in general. Everybody always hits a wall and hits a point where they need to create more capacity. And how do you do that?
I mean, there's two things happening. There's accumulating of work, and then there's the ability to get the work done. So there's this relationship that is always in conflict or out of whack. And so you're always kind of behind the capacity curve. Capacity to me is, do you have the space to work on the projects that are important to you? Do you have the space to work in your life, what you want to be doing? Are you completely overwhelmed? What do your days feel like? Can you work on your business? That relationship between the work you have coming in and the ability to complete it, the answer is probably lies right in there.
It's like being a rock star. People walking by waving.
Well, this is an awesome conference.
It is an awesome.
It is.
I think it's cool that we're recording a podcast here.
Yeah. Well, this is a conference. I've been doing this for about 8 or 9 years, and this is the first time I'm at a conference with you guys. This is different for me because it's the merging of two worlds. Padgett's very old school in the way that they do things, but it's very practical. You guys have been leading edge in the accounting community, so it's bridging the worlds of the future and the past. So how does that relate to capacity? I think it relates to capacity because of technology. Technology creates more capacity for us, and it did for me as a firm. And it was very mind-blowing for a lot of offices that did things very manually to see that, wow, you can automate that? Is that a thing? Like, what's a bank fee? What do you mean feed? Like, are you feeding the bank? Are you should, do you have some grains to feed the bank? Like, what's your take on that technology?
Well, you guys know, I mean, I had my own practice for 8 years and built it to be 100% virtual, cloud-based. And now I get to help 180 practices that look very much like mine do the same. So it's going to be, it's a huge, I wouldn't say opportunity. I'm blessed to say that, but I really, it's like almost as if all my worlds came together to have this role to help other practice owners really build their best lives around their careers. And we know that technology is a critical piece of that.
Well, you're a great example of that. Like you said, you built your practice from the ground up to be a lifestyle for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think some people try to build their firms or build themselves up for somebody else or what they think they should be doing. I think that it starts with, at the core, what do I want? How much free time do I want? How do I want to run my life? You have the ability to do that when you're a business owner.
I feel like I'm always fighting against this martyrdom complex where there's this, for whatever reason, a badge put on people who struggle, who suffer the most.
Yeah.
I'm kind of tired of it.
So that's
Yes.
that's actually, some people like that work. Some people like doing 100 tax returns in 2 days, and they do wear it like a badge of honor because they don't want to be talking to people. They don't want to do sales. They don't want to do these other things. And that's what they're excited about doing. So it's like a salesperson saying, I just had 5 sales calls and I just closed 4 deals. It's the same thing as somebody saying. And so I don't know if it's a badge of honor or really they do feel a lot of pride in doing that. That's why they want to talk about it too.
I think the pride's a good thing, and there's nothing wrong with work ethic. But I'll ask you as a final question here: is can a small independent firm that does a lot of tax returns, can they have capacity? Can a small accounting firm have a life? Can the owner of a small?
Absolutely.
Of course.
Yeah.
So start there. Scott, I mean, you and Amanda have both done that. So what's the disconnect? Because it seems to me like there's a lot of firm owners who,
Priorities.
okay. Talk
I think priorities, setting priorities is a big deal. I don't think I ever set priorities in the beginning. I worked way too much, and I was not proud of the fact that I worked too much, and I didn't get to watch my first daughter grow up as much as I do now. Like, I live with my family and I work at home. I live with my family. You know what I mean? Like Amanda, you got to watch your kids grow because that was your life, your work and your life. And you know, you're able to interweave a lot of these other things together effortlessly, I think. And that's
generous.
You make it look effortless.
Thank you. That's
You
very
make it look
sweet.
effortless, but what's your secret sauce? What's the secret?
Priorities.
I thought you were going to say your drink of choice, secret sauce.
Priorities. I mean, letting the little stuff slide. You know?
Yeah, letting the little stuff slide. That's hard. For me.
It's hard for accountants.
Yeah.
Do you think part of the answer too is if you want to build a firm, you can't do all the returns and all the accounting and sell, and you have to have a team. You have to build in capacity, and that might mean you give up some of the control of your business, which is apparently really hard to do.
Freaks people out.
Yeah.
Giving up control in anything too. That's, so competing priorities on that, because it's an ego thing sometimes too. If I give up this much control, then is it really my firm anymore if I'm not doing anything? Like, that's how I feel too. Like, I don't do anything anymore in the firm.
Oh, so you have capacity.
I have capacity. I do.
Tell us that story.
I filled my capacity with a podcast. No.
How did you free yourself in your firm? Like, big picture.
The word was delegate in the beginning.
Perfect.
And the word at first it was, let's delegate this work that I'm doing. Let's create a process to do that. So it was first technology. It was first creating more space to do different things. Then it was, I shouldn't be doing this anymore. But you can't just say one day, I'm not going to review tax returns anymore. You have to really plan that out. It has to kind of happen intentionally and then naturally too.
Well, I think one key is, I think a lot of firm owners know they're strapped, but they don't know where to start, and it all seems so overwhelming. What's important is to start with one thing. What is the one thing you can solve with another person, with a contract, employee, or technology? Like, what is the one thing? If you got rid of this one thing off your plate, what one thing getting off your plate would make the biggest difference, and how can you do that with technology?
Yeah.
So
what's the lowest hanging fruit?
What's the lowest hanging fruit? And you figure out that solution, and it may take another 6 months until you pick the second thing. But just doing something to build in some capacity.
So don't drink straight from the fire hose, I think is what they say. Like, don't try and change everything at once, too. It's like, be intentional about what's the first move, and don't get I get distracted, too. When I'm in the middle of something, I get really bored when I'm at the 50-yard line, and I can't even take it past there because it's just like, this should already be working. I don't know if the board's the right word, but so patience, too. So planning and patience.
Yeah, but you got to do something. Like, we can't sit and watch our firm owners, like, deer in the headlights. Just, I don't know where to start. And that's what Jeff and I are doing every day, is helping them start. But like, what is the one thing? I mean, I had a call with a practice owner a couple weeks ago who said, it's a real struggle for me to keep up with my AR, my billing. Like, I have a spreadsheet. I'm trying to keep it up with it manually, and it's stressing me out, and I don't know where things are. And so we had a discussion. Like, you could there's technology for that.
Yeah.
Pick Zero
there's
or
an app for
Practice
that.
Ignition or something. Right. There's an app for that. That one piece is going to free up so much of not only her actual time at her desk, but like her emotional and mental capacity, right? Like the stress, pulling that off, the mind space. So
I liked what you said a second ago. I think about decide in advance what you'd like to do with the extra time you're going to get back when you invest in streamlining something.
That's really good.
Now you have a why.
Yeah. Because when you do get the time, you don't know what to do with it. It's like, you finally achieve that. Like, this is what happened.
You start a podcast.
That happened by accident, but it was like, you finally get that time. And then I'm trying to think of a good analogy of it. It's like you finally reach it, and then you don't know what to do with it. It's like you've worked so hard for the beach body, and then you go to the beach and it's cold and it's raining.
I had a coach tell me when I was at Accounting Fly, and I felt like I was in reactive mode all the time, and it was tough. And I heard a coach, I felt like I was in funk and needed to get out of it, and he made me work every single morning for 1 hour. He called it the golden hour. It's like, we're working on the business. I don't care what you do, but you are not responding to emails or phone calls or to-do lists. This is creative time. It's fix a process, streamline something, dream about the business. That's a habit that I started 4 years ago. That was capacity, since it was capacity for deep work in my firm.
Yeah. So a little bit at a time. And Amanda, you're saying to go faster once you know what it is that you're going to change. Because when I was preaching patience, I think it's not just patience. It is kind of, once you do find that low hanging fruit, sprint.
yeah, it's being very deliberate about it though.
Yeah.
And not spinning wheels. It's figuring out what it is, what is the thing, and do it.
Yeah, and find somebody that's done it already to help guide you through that process, because anything that you're going to go through, somebody else has gone through.
That's the benefit of being a big org like Padgett.
Yeah. There you go. Benefits. Some other benefits. Community. The community aspect of that, I think that's what I've always enjoyed.
We're seeing that right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's been fun. That's been fun because, Jeff and I, this is our first in-person event for the company. And I've been on 4 or 5 months. He's been here for well over a year. And this is the first chance we're able to meet with the franchisees in person, but to see them engage with each other.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
It's like old friends seeing
It
each
is.
other again for the first time in 2 years.
There are a lot of stories too.
Yeah.
Years past.
You got to get together. I love remote working, but I do not like not seeing the people I work with.
There you go. Yeah. So we have that at our firm because we are fully remote now. But like, how do you create capacity for your team too? Like, how do they have more time, or give them some more time? Because you can't just solve problems by throwing people at it. And then the more people you have, they're going to be overworked at some point too, if you don't have a plan.
Time blocking.
Time block.
Office hours.
So these are hot topics or hot words that me and Jeff know of, but do you care to contextualize office? Well, people should know what office hours are.
Look, the least efficient way you can spend your day working is responding to something that other people are asking you to do, which is namely email. We just get bombarded with email and text, phone calls.
Slack, Teams.
So no matter what you have to do, unless you're in customer support, sitting there and letting that detect your schedule is the least efficient way. And whatever it is you want to accomplish, the odds of you accomplishing it are very, very low if you spend your day dealing with that. Work on your creative stuff or your important goals before you get to reactive time. Block that out in your calendar. Batch the time in your day you do email and correspondence. And if it has to be 3 hours a day, so be it. And then my favorite thing is office hours is, hey, you don't have to email me that ridiculously minor question or text me right now. Put it on a legal pad. And every Wednesday from 2 to 4, I'm sitting on Zoom waiting for anyone that wants to come chat with me. And then we can have a discussion about the agenda items that you have.
That is a great use of office hours and a great way to have a team feel more connected. Even though you're restricting certain things, at the end, everybody does feel more connected because it's very intentional. We've been doing that with our team for almost all year now, and it's worked smashingly well. Like that,
Wow.
They're very effective. We don't have a lot of communication back and forth when it comes to the work. The work is getting done, and it's getting done. It's just very hard to deal with clients. Clients still want that instant feedback, so we still have to tailor the way that we respond to them.
Yeah.
I've tried to get out of email, but even me, like I can't not email if I don't do that. Like, so there's certain ways of communicating that we have to keep up with. We just have to be more intentional about them. With us, we've never emailed each other anyway, within the team, and that serves as well because things don't get lost in an email stream or an email communication. So they're very controlled ways of discussing business or discussing a client. So.
Yeah, so I think with our staff, capacity is almost never about not enough time. It's about doing things twice, not having a streamlined linear workflow, not having the communication stored somewhere. So I've talked to a franchise owner who's like, we have got to fix this because a client is emailing 5 people on my staff, and each of those 5 people is responding differently. So like that's a huge inefficiency, a huge time suck. That's not about not having the time to do the work that needs to be done. That's about misfires and not having a good system and doing things over and over again that don't need to be done twice. So.
Yeah. Misfires in communication too.
I think, Scott, going back to your comment about clients, let's say you're an accounting firm and your primary communication with your clients is email, fine. But at least structure your internal communications so that it's not, I'm going to use a buzzword, the interactive hive mind.
Yeah, that's another hot topic.
That's a hot word, yeah. But that's
the hyperactive hive mind. It's not the interactive hive
the
mind.
hyperactive hive mind, like a bunch of bees just buzzing around, not doing anything, just emailing each other.
Yeah, that's it. Well, the pings, the constant pings back and forth, the constant.
You need to have friction in the communications inside your team, rules, and then it can go so much smoother.
Yeah, so boundaries, setting up.
That's all it is.
Yeah, setting up a fenced-in play area for them.
We never got to that when email came around. We just took it that it was just how we did work. Now, I know people with thousands of emails, tens of thousands of emails in their inbox.
I get stressed when my email box is big because I know each item there is actually something that I have to do. That's the struggle with me is I still haven't been able to separate my conversations about work and email because they're all in my mind. They're still just one thing. Like the work that I need to do is tend to the communications that have come in and is tend to that. So I have certain days now that are dedicated just to email, but it's not email. It's just, it's actually doing stuff though too. Like I know it sounds bad, but it's like, I go in there because, okay, I have to, in order to respond to this person, I have to do this work or get this done. So, I personally don't have.
How do you even organize that?
That's not an inbox.
Carbons.
That's right.
So when I use the word, so in my mind, so this is where the conversation starts to get interesting because Carbon has allowed me to take that email, assign it to the work item, and do that work. But it's the way that I work. I still open up Carbon as if it's my email, and I still refer to it as if it's my email because it's the triage of communications that I need to move out of the way, and that triage keeps filling up. So I can't ever get to the point where it's. So yeah, that's how I organize it though.
Cool.
That's the struggle. I'm gonna show you my inbox.
See, that's some ASMR. That's visually appealing. That's a visual ASMR to me.
Okay, we have to explain to the people listening what you're looking at.
I'm looking at a clean inbox. I'm looking at Jeff only has 2 emails in there.
And they both came in the last 3 hours.
Yeah, I'm a little jealous to see that. I'll be honest.
There are things that I have to respond to, but it's sorted. All right, so I've got my follow-up folder. These are things that...
Would you like to share how it's so sorted and how it's so tight?
Well, I have an executive assistant who does it.
So you've outsourced your email.
Mm-hmm.
That's building capacity.
I've outsourced the processing of my email.
There you go.
And if it's a scheduling related email, she handles it. If it is a Jeff needs to follow up to it, goes in follow up. But my days end with 10 emails in my inbox. And when I batch my email from 2 to 3 every day, the follow up thing, the folder, I leave it empty. Then I go home. And then I've got another folder called read through. This is, there's our financial statement. There's a receipt. I look at these on Friday.
So you've been able to create systems around your email.
Yeah.
But you need the capacity to do that. So that sounds...
But I have a virtual executive assistant. Never met her. This was her system. She implemented it for me. So at least I don't spend my time being completely overwhelmed by emails. I get a lot of emails, but maybe not as many as some people. But I know where it needs to go and what my plan is every day.
Okay, I like that, Amanda. What's your biggest improvements in creating capacity in this past year? Let's say. Like that sounds like
probably since I've been working here, I've adopted some of just best practices. Like we have a standing meeting, so we batch all of our communication into one 1 hour meeting a week. And for 2 people, in a big company, that's pretty good that we can figure out all the things that need to be figured out for Padgett in 1 hour a week.
Well, that must be a very productive hour, and like it's planned or scheduled, because that's obvious. It's very what's the
deliberate?
Yeah.
So we have a running Trello board. So anything that I need to talk to him about or things that we need to follow up on, stay on the Trello board for Jeff. Like I have one of my lists is Jeff. Mm-hmm. He's the title of one of my Trello lists.
In my to discuss board, I've got Amanda. I try to resist the urge to text Amanda. Hey, we got to talk about this.
Oh, that's a good point too. I did that with my team where I told them, if I text or call you, do not pick up.
You had to do it.
Do not reply, and I will get mad at you. I will resent this, and I will be upset about it later. And I did get very upset with them, like especially with my operations manager. I told him this would happen, and it did, and I got pissed off because I had something to go over with him. I felt like it was urgent, and it wasn't. I felt like it was in the moment.
Most things aren't urgent. I mean, especially if you get ahead of them. So things are urgent when you aren't organized, leave them to the last minute. There's some kind of crisis. Most of that can be avoided by just a steady stream of weekly communication. Yeah. I mean, Jeff and I have like a list of things that we pretty much talk about every single week. Where's this project? Where's this vendor? And then anything else goes on the list if something comes up during the week. But most of the time, nothing is urgent.
We kind of follow the level 10 traction. On track. Oh, we need to talk about this. All right, let's talk about it. On track. And then what do we need to deep dive in today? Mm-hmm. Then I like that cadence.
And what's nice is it's so much more effective. Like a 10-minute conversation about one subject with you and I is 1,000 times more effective than a bunch of emails. And then, I'm going to text you on the side about this thing, and then it gets lost. And just having a focused conversation and having all of our attention on this one thing for 10 minutes usually solves just about any problems. I mean, we have some, it's a big company. Mm-hmm. but we can usually knock it out in 10 minutes instead of a bunch of straggling emails, texts, Slacks, Teams, all the things.
So how about this? A cadence for capacity, right?
Mm-hmm.
This just came to me when you said cadence. It's a cadence for capacity. You need to create extra capacity for things that would come up as well. And I feel like those are the urgent matters, the things that might, and I don't know how you determine what's urgent and what's not, but if you have the capacity to handle things that come up that are opportunities, strike when the iron's hot, whatever it is, and you have the capacity to do something that's worthwhile or that's important, you know, maybe it's for a client, maybe it's for you, maybe it's an opportunity for whatever, you know, that's creating that extra amount and then knowing how to act.
I mean, are there ever surprises on a daily basis in running a business?
Hindsight, no, but in the immediately surface problems are surprises.
But yeah, there's always surprises. Yeah. So you've got to have the capacity to deal with anything. You have the energy to do it, the time to do it, and I think you got to scratch and claw for every minute. Capacity is time.
Yeah.
So what are you doing with your time?
Right. Are you spinning wheels or are you making the most of it? And I promise if you're not spinning your wheels and you really are working in, you know, with focused intention, doing the deep work, you've got enough time to do it all.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think we can look at how we spend our time. I think the thing on the phone is really helpful. Like I have that as one of my, just when I open my phone, I can see which apps I was in, where I spent my time. And if it's, you know, I don't have the Twitter app on my phone, but that really wasn't Twitter. I wish I could delete the messages app because I send way too many messages. It's like TV, I don't really watch much of that anymore. I think that created a lot of capacity for me in general. You know, so there's things that we do with ourselves, like it's like pacifiers for ourself and our mind. We'll do things that maybe are unproductive or not good for us, but we do it to escape the reality of anything that we have to tend to do. So being intentional about that.
You got really deep there. Yeah. Speaking of capacity, I think we need to give our listeners some capacity.
We need to have the capacity for a drink. So I do. Yeah, this is perfect.
What a great decision.
I love you guys.
You too. That's awesome.
I'm so happy to be with you guys. So that's rose to all the listeners. Thank you to all of you for listening.
All right, let's go get a drink.